Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to learn numbers from Python. So there are basically three numeric types in Python. Numeric type means those data types which are relevant with numbers. All right. So Python has three different numeric data types, and those are integer, which deals with the numeric values that doesn't contain any fractional value, and float, which contains fractional value, and complex, which contains engineering quotation. All right, so let me simply give you some example first, and then it would get clear to you. So let's say in a very generic note, let's say I'm declaring a variable, let's say a, or let me keep it simple, let's say var1, variable 1, and I am storing 5 in it. So you see that this value doesn't have any fractional point. Fractional value means 5.59 or something like that. It doesn't have any radix point. So we consider it as integer value. Okay, integer value. And obviously I can print that. If I simply run it, you see that it's printing. Cool. And then let us talk about the second type of data type, and that is float. Float contains fractional value. Let's say I'm going to use the earlier example, 5.98, let's say, and this is a floating value, floating value, or you can tell it floating point value, but in general we call it float. All right, and if I want to print it, that's how it works. All right, and lastly we can talk about the complex value. Let's say I'm going to declare a variable named var3, and I can store in it 5j, and this is a complex value, complex numeric value. All right, so if I want to print it for var3, you see it's printing it like this. So yeah, I should comment it that this is a complex value. All right, so in general, these are all we have in Python's numeric data types. And if we want to verify the data type, let's say you are confused whether, let's say something like that, you have a value, but you are confused whether it resides within the integer data type or floating or complex value. You can definitely check using the type function. So let's say you have a value. All right, it would be better if I simply create another file, I guess. So let me call it something like main2.py, like this. And let's say you have got a value like this, 89j, but you actually don't know which type of data type it is in Python. So let me simply store it in x89j, and definitely I can print the number because that is very basic. But if I want to print the data type, I can simply use the type function, and I can wrap the variable with this. Sorry, it would be type. If I run it, you see that it's telling me that it is a complex data type. All right, and I can do another thing. Let's say, all right, I can simply print the type of, let's say, 58j. Let's see whether it works or not. You see it's also working. So if you have a value and you don't know exactly which data type it is, you can simply pass it in the type function and you can print that function. By doing that, you can get the exact data type it has in Python. So now we can talk about some more detailed thing. Let's say I am going to create another file, let's say integer python.py. Integer, or int in short, is actually a whole number, positive or negative, without decimals, of unlimited length. All right, so let's say I can declare some random integer variable. It can be 5, 2, it can be minus blah 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 blah, it can be positive blah 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 blah. All right, unlimited length, it can store unlimited length. And if I want, obviously I can print those out. Let's say I can print the larger one, let's say C. All right, now if I simply run it, you see that it's printing the whole number. So Python has this flexibility that it doesn't have any limitation in the length of the variable's value. All right, so this is a very basic thing in Python, and it is coming from Python 3. I mean, from Python 3, there are no limitations in the value, in numerical value, and that is a good thing for us. And let's say I can increase the value a lot if I want. And if I simply print it, you see, it's printing everything. Now, if you are confused that, hey, Fahim, you have declared a very long value in the integer variable c, but you are really confused whether it actually an integer anymore or it has changed to something different data types. So obviously you can check that out using the type function. So type c, and if I run it, you see that it's an integer type string. So that's how it goes. And let's talk about float Python. Float actually is the short form of floating point number. It basically is a number. It can be positive or negative, and it can contain one or more decimal. All right. So let me simply try it out. So let's say it can be 89.5.36 blah 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 blah. It can be something like minus 789 blah 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 point blah 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 blah, like this. And if I want to print it, obviously it should print. Yes, it is printing. But yeah, it's printing. And let me simply print the second one. And yeah, it's also printing. But you see, whenever I am providing a very long length of value in a floating point variable, it applies concatenation and give it like this engineering symbol. So 984, 984, and the rest of them has been concatenated using this engineering symbol. So float does this, and we actually call it scientific number because in scientific number it appears as like this e and then the power. All right, so it's a scientific number, but we are using it in the float. And for the last one, that would be complex, I can simply create another file, let's say complex python.py. And complex numbers complex numbers are actually written with a j, and j is the imaginary part. All right, we obviously know that complex number definitely has an imaginary part. Other than that, it can't be an complex number. So we use j as the imaginary part, and it can be like this. Let's say I'm declaring a variable named a, and it can be 8 plus 99j. And let's say I'm declaring another variable, let's say b equal to minus 999999j. And let's say I'm declaring another variable, let's say I'm gonna name it c, and it can have 56 98j, like this. All right, and obviously I can print all of them to see whether it's actually printing all of them or not, whether they are concatenating something like in the float. All right, it should print b and it should print c, like this. You see, it's printing all of them. So whenever it's getting two type of things and it gets plus in between, it adds bracket, and the same thing it does for the negative portion, but it doesn't do any extra thing like adding bracket or something like that if it's only the imaginary part. You see it right here. So this is the basic introduction of the three different types of numeric data types in Python. Now, along the way, we are going to learn a lot of things, and I hope we can see a lot examples, and later maybe we could use them in our Python based project. Let's see how it goes. All right, so this is it for today. If you're new to this channel, you can subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me, you can do that in GitHub, GitLab, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I would be more than happy to cooperate with you. All right, And obviously we have a Discord server, make sure to join there as well, and I will see you later.